Greetings, fellow rebels! Relic here. I've been a fan of Valheim for years, and I've nearly completed it, but the Ashlands being the hellscape as it is has shown its difficulty. One of the many things that entices me to the game is its hunger mechanic. Instead of sustaining a bar to keep you from dying, Valheim's hunger mechanic increases your maximum health and stamina for a limited amount of time. This puts certain foods at a higher value than others, and so I'll be ranking all food items in Valheim on a tier list. For this list, I'll be focusing on the meals and their ingredients that the player can consume and determining factors like how much health or stamina it fills, how long they last, and the ingredients required to make them. The meats will not be factored as they are different from the meals, and I'll also be excluding ingredients that the player cannot consume. I also won't be touching on the feasts as I haven't found them all. If a food item has more than one use outside of consumption, that will affect their rating on the list. I also want to mention that these items will not be ranked on their efficiency upon the entirety of the game's progression, but only on the biome these items are unlocked earliest as it possible and the biome after that, nothing past that. For this first part, I'll be covering the food items from the meadows, black forest, the swamps, and the ocean, as that last one is a sub-biome in my opinion. Starting in the meadows, the first item you'll likely come across is the raspberry. This is a stamina-rich food giving 7 health and 20 stamina for 10 minutes. You can find these in bushes across the meadows. Sadly, you can't replant these bushes, but they can grow after a few days, so try not to destroy them. Raspberries are a pretty meh food item, but they are worth more in other ways. They can be cooked into various dishes, brewed into meats, buildings, and for taming wild boars. Raspberries have many uses outside of being consumed by the player, so gathering them isn't a waste of time. I'll put raspberries in the B tier due to these inefficiencies of food but other uses. The next edible item you'll come across is the mushroom. This is a balance for both health and stamina, giving 15 to both stats for 15 minutes. This item lasts longer than the raspberry and provides more health at a cost of less stamina, making it a better item to eat. The mushroom is also useful for beating boar, and it's an ingredient for some recipes, but no meats. I believe that mushroom is a bit better to eat for its stats and duration, and is more balanced, but it lacks other uses which holds it back a bit. I'll put it in B tier. Also, side note, don't eat random mushrooms in the forest floor. The next item is honey. Honey is a stamina-rich food giving 8 health and 35 stamina for 15 minutes. You can harvest honey from beehives that you can find in old houses around the meadows or ones that you've built. This is an incredibly useful food for the early game, as certain tasks may require a large stamina pool like mining or chopping trees. Honey also has a wide variety of usage in cooking and meads, making it a must-have for every playthrough. Even some late game meads use honey as an ingredient. For all those reasons, I'm putting honey in S tier. Its golden shine is proof of honey's grand value. Now let's discuss the meat of the meadows, which is neck, boar, and deer. All of these can be hunted and cooked over an open campfire with a cooking rack. I won't be judging the meats raw as the player cannot eat them, but they can be used to tame and breed wolves. All of these cooked meats are health-rich foods that last for 20 minutes. Now with their similarities out of the way, let's look at them in a bit more detail. Starting with the grilled neck tail. This food provides 21 health and 8 stamina. In my opinion, it's better to leave these tails raw as they are outperformed by the other game of the meadows. The neck tail does have other uses like an ingredient, but I'll get to that later. Its most valuable use is in poison resistant meats for the swamps and certain bosses that use poison based attacks. I'll put the necktail in D tier for its lack of use as a food but decency in poison resistant meats. The next meat is boar, and this is a decent improvement. It provides 30 health and 10 stamina when cooked. Boar meat is a good decision if you want a health rich food source that is easy to farm and is used in a variety of recipes later on in the game. I don't have much use to say for boar meat, only to say that it's good in both raw and cooked form, giving it a B tier. The final meat is deer meat. This provides 35 health and 12 stamina when cooked. This makes deer meat the best meat in the meadows, and it gets better. Deer meat is rewarding to acquire as hunting a no-star neck and boar will give you 1 piece. Meanwhile, a no-star deer can give you 2 pieces, meaning if you're successful at hunting, you can get more deer meat than from the other 2 pieces. Along with that, the cooked variant is also used in a recipe for a better dish, which I'll get to later. For how filling deer meat is, I'll put it in A tier. Now we move on to the black forest, and with the new land means new foods to cook. First, let's start with the ingredients you'll come across while exploring the black forest. From its bushes to its burial chambers, we can now have 10 new edible items we can make, discover, and dispose of as you see fit. The first item you'll likely find is the blueberry. These are a stamina rich food giving 8 health and 25 stamina for 10 minutes. These can be found on bushes around the Black Forest, and similar to raspberries, you can't replace them. The blueberries have similar uses to the raspberries, but the only difference is that blueberries have higher stats. However, this doesn't change much as they are valued, so I'll put them in B tier, just a bit higher than the raspberries. The next item is the yellow mushroom. Unlike their normal counterparts, these are a stamina rich food giving 10 health and 30 stamina for 10 minutes. This may seem nice, but these mushrooms are outclassed by honey, which has more stats and duration. The mushrooms are easier to find though. These mushrooms do have a big use in stamina meads, but sadly no other recipes. I feel as if the yellow mushroom would have been a good ingredient for a later dish. I'll give the yellow mushrooms a C tier as I don't think they're useless as a food source, just underutilized as an ingredient. The next food item requires a cultivator, as you can find its seeds from white flowers in the Black Forest, but you can't eat them. But once they've fully grown, you'll be able to acquire a carrot. I say seeds in quotation marks as carrots are vegetables that can't be grown from seeds. Carrots are a stamina rich food giving 10 health and 32 stamina for 15 minutes. These stats are a bit inferior to honey, but that's okay because carrots can be used as an ingredient for meals that can surpass honey in stats. It can also be used to tame wild boars. For the various usage and decent stats, I'll put a carrot in B tier. With the addition of the Call to Arms update, bears have been added to the hunt, and you could cook and harvest their meat. Cooked bear meat is a health-rich food giving 40 health and 13 stamina for 20 minutes. This is higher than the deer meat stat-wise, but that's all it has going for it. You can't use bear meat for recipes, it can't be fed to your wolves, and it's outclassed by a meal that uses cooked deer meat for both stats and durations, making bear meat worthless for anything except burnt for coal. I'm putting bear meat in D tier because it doesn't waste resources and doesn't harm the player. But what does harm the player is bukeberries. And yes, I am counting these as an edible food because they are edible by the player. And honestly, you should not eat these. Bukeberries don't boost your health or stamina, but instead wipe your stomach so that you can eat another bite. The reason why I see this as worthless is because you don't have to contract norovirus to override your previous snack. You just wait for a meal to go halfway through its duration, then it flashes, and any food item you eat will override its remaining stats no matter if the replacement has higher or lower stats. Eating bukeberries will also halt the player's health and stamina regen and half the player's movement speed for 15 seconds, meaning if you accidentally swallow this in the middle of a firefight, it's not the poison that kills you, it's the enemy. Also, it doesn't have any other usage outside of consumption, so for those reasons, I'm putting these berries in F tier. Get the fudge out of here! Now with the ingredients and the bukeberries out of the way, let's look into some actual cooked and complicated meals instead of just meat over a fire. Once you acquire some tin and make a cauldron, you should have access to make some meals that will last longer and provide higher stats for your adventures. Similar to the workbench and forge, the cauldron has upgrades to increase its cooking levels to craft higher quality foods, but I'll cover those in the next biome. For now, I'll discuss the cuisines that can be cooked in the Black Forest. The first meal that the player can make is the Queen's Jam. This is a stamina-rich food giving 14 health and 40 stamina for 20 minutes. It requires 8 raspberries and 6 blueberries to yield 4 servings. This is a decent dish for its high yield along with higher stats and duration from honey, making it better to eat and it's used in a feast. But honey still remains on top as the jam can't be used in meat. For that, I'll put the Queen's Jam in a higher section of B tier. The next meal is carrot soup. This is a stamina rich food giving 15 health and 45 stamina for 25 minutes. It requires 3 carrots and 1 mushroom to yield 1 serving. This is a better stamina rich food for a longer voyage as it lasts longer than the Queen's Jam and gives better stats. It will make a dent in your carrot supply, so you better be stockpiling those seeds. I'll put the carrot soup in A tier for its high stats and duration. The next meal is boar jerky. This is a balanced food item giving 23 to both health and stamina for 30 minutes. It requires 1 honey and 1 boar meat to yield 2 servings. While boar jerky isn't very filling, it does have a long duration, but that doesn't seem to be much of a compromise. Having 23 for both stats seems minuscule for an adventure and just fits better as a snack. I'm not entirely sure what else to say. It's not wasteful and doesn't harm the player, so I'll put it in C tier and move on. The next meal is minced meat sauce. This is a health-rich food giving 40 health and 13 stamina for 25 minutes. It requires 1 carrot, 1 boar, and 1 necktail to yield 1 serving. I'll be honest with you, this feels like a waste of ingredients, as its stats get outclassed by the next dish in stats, which are just as easy to get and cook. Along with that, it can't be used for any feasts, and for that reason, I'll put the mincemeat sauce in F tier. It's not worth making. Don't make it. Hey, I'm talking to you, Jerry. Don't make that mincemeat sauce. The final meal for the Black Forest, and one I've been foreshadowing, is the deer stew. This is a health-rich food giving 45 health and 15 stamina for 25 minutes. It requires 1 cooked deer meat, 1 blueberry, and 1 carrot, yielding 1 serving. This is the best meal for the Black Forest for many reasons. Any leftover deer meat you've cooked can be used, so no meat can go to waste. The other ingredients are easy to acquire and can be used at a feast. You can make a good quality of deer stew for fuel and through your journey at the Black Forest and the beginning of the swamps. For that reason, I'll put the deer stew in A tier. Now comes a trek to the swamps, but before we can expand your menu, you need to find some yellow flowers and cultivate their seeds to grow some turnips. The turnips won't be ranked as you can't eat them, but you can use them to make your first upgrade to the cauldron to expand your menu, that being the spice rack. The first meal baked from Shrek's territory is the muck shake. Wait, why am I talking like this? This is a stamina-rich food giving 16 health and 50 stamina for 20 minutes. It requires 1 ooze, 2 blueberries, and 2 raspberries to yield 1 serving. The muck shake has better stats than the Queen's Jam while sharing its duration, and they even each other out with their ingredients, as it takes more blueberries to make an equal amount of muck shakes to even out the jam. But muck shake requires more stamina due to its higher use of blueberries. In my opinion, the muck shake feels like a slight improvement over the Queen's Jam, so I'll put it in B tier above the jam. The next item is the black soup. This is a health-rich food giving 50 health and 17 stamina for 20 minutes. It requires 1 blood bag, 1 turnip, and 1 honey to yield 1 serving. All I have to say here is, why? Why would you make this? This is a terrible dish. It just looks like a bunch of mud with thistles on top. Its stats are maybe greater than the deer stew, but its duration isn't good, and it's easily outclassed by another meal that you'll get at the same time as this sludge. While it won't hurt the player, it does waste your ingredients, so I'll put it in F tier. Please, do not make this meal. It's not worth it. The next meal is a better use of turnips in my opinion. It's the turnip stew. This is a stamina-rich food giving 18 health and 55 stamina for 25 minutes. It requires 3 turnips and 1 boar meat to yield 1 serving. This dish is a bit pricey to me, as I find turnips to be harder to find than carrots in the Black Forest, and it takes up more turnips than that abomination of a dish from last time. But it's a better choice for its superior stats and duration, so make sure you grow a lot of turnips. This stew can also be used to make a feast, so I'll put it in B tier. The final meal of the swamps is the sausages. These are a health-rich food giving 55 health and 18 stamina for 25 minutes. It requires 4 entrails, 1 thistle, and 1 boar meat to yield 4 servings. These are a great dish as you can get a large quantity of them, and you'll likely slate a good amount of draw guards and collected a decent amount of thistles and boar meat in your prior travels. Sausages can be a plentiful dish that put the black slop to shame, and for that, I'll put it in the A tier. Well, that does it for the swamp. There is still one more watery biome that provides some tasty and filling dishes: the ocean. After finding Haldor and buying a fishing rod, you can go fishing for various species and cook them into some fishy dishes. No pun intended. Before you could cook them, you'll need to make a food preparation table. And no, this is not a cauldron upgrade, but a separate station altogether. This station can be used to turn any fish you may have collected into a raw fish that can be fed to your wolves or cooked over a fire. The cooked fish is a health-rich food giving 45 health and 15 stamina for 20 minutes. Before the addition of the prepping table, fish was a great meal, but early game now, it's okay. It is better than bear meat after all. Fish is similar to deer, as its cooked variant is more useful as an ingredient for a later dish and feast, and that's exactly what it does. For its similarities, I'll put the fish in A tier, but a bit higher to deer due to its better stats. The next fish you will be catching, actually more like slaying, is the serpents. And while their scales and heads will sink to the ocean floor, if there is one, the meat will float up to the waters and they can be cooked and eaten. But before you can cook the serpent meat, you'll need to upgrade your code rack. Wait, did I say code rack? My bad. I meant to say you need to upgrade your cooking rack to something stronger, taller, and has more hooks than a coat rack. The cooked serpent meat is a health-rich food giving 70 health and 23 stamina for 25 minutes. These stats make it the most valuable meat so far, as its cooked variant outclasses the smaller fish, which has the highest stats so far. For its high stats and duration averaging out to a normal meal, I'll put the serpent meat in A tier. However, I'm not done with the serpent meat yet because it could be used to make one of the greatest dishes in all of the 10th realms, serpent stew. Serpent stew is a health-rich food giving a fudging 80 health and 26 stamina for 30 minutes. It requires 1 cooked serpent meat, 2 honey, and 1 mushroom to yield 1 serving. The fact that you can get a dish with stats this high early in the game is incredible, and it could carry you through the entirety of the mid-game, even into the mistlands. Slaying a serpent can get you 6 to 7 pieces of meat, meaning... wait, 6, 7... Hey, is that actually legit? It is? It's mentioned on the wiki? Alright, thanks. Sorry, I thought someone wrote a 6-7 joke in the script. Anyway, back on topic. Meaning similar to the sausage, you can easily get a large quantity of serpent stew and it will last you for many in-game days, maybe even months. This is honestly my favorite food item in the entire game, and for that reason, I'm putting it in S tier. This deserves to be crowned as a meal for a king. No, a true warrior for Valhalla. That'll do it for the first part of this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you loved the video, subscribe to my channel to support the rebellion. I plan on doing a follow-up video for the mountains, plains, and the mistlands. Once I complete the ashlands and the deep north comes out, I'll make a third part for this video, including all the feasts. But until then, farewell, fellow rebels.